I'll begin with the obvious. You know what? Fuck it. I was considering doing a small lead up, but let's just start off with a bang here. Where is the, let's see, will this give me what I want to see? No. I don't know why, but it will not. Not game capture. Display capture? There we go. Yeah, Israel bombed Iran. Uh, and I mean they bombed Iran. Like every major city. Uh, I started looking at this late last night, because that's about when it happened. So let's scroll all the way down. What do we got? Down here. That's great. Israeli military confirms strikes. Times of Israel reports that Israeli military confirmed attacking Iran in an operation dubbed Rising Lion. Great. Israel, Lion, India, also Lion, etc., etc. Awesome. And by awesome, I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, this rogue state is going to get everybody killed. Several sounds of explosions heard across Tehran. Yeah, they hit Tehran. And they didn't hit military targets strictly either. This is military. So their standard operating procedure is that they also bomb civilian areas. I think they hit some apartment buildings, but I'll get to that if I can find it. Israeli military says it struck military and nuclear sites. I don't doubt that they did, like, hit some of them at least, but, U.S. not involved in strikes against Iran. I actually believe this. The U.S. will just kind of pick up after Israel when it just decides to go Joker mode. But now we are involved because, the United States has taken a rhetorical line of defending Israel here. U.S.-Iran talks unlikely on Sunday. I wonder fucking why. This is a shocking, admission, giving the game away. Benjamin Netanyahu says strikes on Iran will continue as long as necessary. The Israeli Prime Minister says the attacks are aimed at Iran's nuclear program, ballistic missiles, and military capabilities. This operation will continue as long as necessary until we complete the mission, Netanyahu said in a statement. His objective here is to just keep the war machine churning so that he can stay in office for long enough to, dodge, I don't know, corruption charges or some shit like that. He just wants to stay in power, and that's why he's doing all this. The fucked up thing, though, is that at this point, Benjamin Netanyahu is actually, in Israel, would be a lesser evil than whoever would build a government after he's gone. The Israeli people have now, because Israel has huffed the fumes of their own propaganda for long enough, the population of Israel has now sailed way beyond the position even of Netanyahu. They're even more genocidal than he is because he's still, as a politician, kind of aware of the international pressures that are on him to not, clamp down on Gaza, killing everybody all at once. And, kind of understands the pace at which he needs to go. Whereas the average Israeli literally believes that they should just kill everyone in Gaza, fuck the consequences, something, something, Jewish state, something. Flight suspended in Tehran. That makes sense. Oh, this is Greenwich Mean Time. Okay, so it's, witnessing genocide, that's just Tuesday. Well, we might also be witnessing regional war, although given what Iran said recently, I kind of doubt that. I genuinely don't know how Iran is going to justify not responding here, but I'll get to that when I get to that. Attack focused on neighborhood in Tehran known as residential area for military officials. In other words, they bombed a residential neighborhood. Yeah, sure, military officers live there, I guess. I missed what now? Israel bombed every major Iranian city, targeting residential areas. Here in the capital, around 3 a.m. local time, we heard sounds of explosions. Between 6 to 9 explosions have been reported in the capital, and I personally heard 2 of them at least. It has been said that these explosions did not happen in one certain place, but rather different parts of the city. State TV has confirmed the happening of the explosions and has just shown footage of different places, which we can clearly see smoke coming out of the scene. We know so far of different parts in the western neighborhood of the capital. Residential area known for having buildings that relate to the residence of military officials. So, in classic Israeli fashion, they targeted military officials by bombing civilians, where the military officials maybe live, I guess. That was not on my June bingo list. I mean, it wasn't really on mine either, but like, I guess that's what you get from a rogue state. Israel is completely fucking insane. Like, this is even like, I mentioned earlier that Netanyahu decided to do this kind of military escalation with Iran because fascism needs a permanent state of crisis. But when viewing it from the top down, you have to have that crisis, that state of war, in a relatively controlled way so that the autocrat can stay in power, right? Netanyahu's facing corruption charges in Israel. Like, people don't really like him, but they'll put up with him in the war cabinet so long as there's a war going on that's fresh in people's minds. The less fresh that the genocide in Gaza is in the minds of the Israeli people, the more Netanyahu needs to start something else to stay in power. That's why he's doing this. That's why they're doing this. And of course, it bears mentioning that Netanyahu is actually, at this point, less bloodthirsty than the average Israeli. I can't fucking believe I'm saying that, but that seems to be what the polling data reflects, where a majority, not even a plurality, a majority of Israelis believe that we should just kill everyone in Gaza now. There's no such thing as a civilian in Gaza. All of them are to be considered the enemy. They must be wiped out, which is further than even Netanyahu is willing to go because he recognizes there are still international constraints on him, at least from a public perspective, like a public relations perspective, to allow some kind of humanitarian aid to get into the Gaza Strip, if only to sort of appease the West just enough to get them off of his back while he continues with the war cabinet. You know? Game on, says key U.S. Senator. Of course, fucking Lindsey Graham. Ooh. Game on, pray for Israel. God, this country's so cucked. I guess, this would be one of the things that America has learned from past conflicts, right? It's not like this is the first massively unpopular set of military escalations the United States has been involved in. This is just the only one where it's not directly the United States doing it. Or like how they're doing their genocide again. Oh, hope with autocorrected in there. I don't quite take the meaning. At what point, if the U.S. were to withdraw from the Middle East through one mechanism or another, e.g., to the decline to the point of completely dropping out, Middle Eastern powers would be justified in politely removing Israel? Serious question. Oh, genuinely, there is the amount of force and violence against the state of Israel that I would consider justified in order to stabilize the Middle East has been escalating to such a point that if I said the peak of what would be justified to do against Israel on the part of other nation states in the region, should America pull out in that situation, I would be banned from Twitch. Like, legitimately, that is the level to which we are talking here. Like, there is so much shit that could happen to Israel that would be really bad from the perspective of the Israeli population that I would say, you know what? Yes, that's justified because otherwise you still have a rogue state in the region that is wreaking havoc. I will not specify what because, again, that would get me banned from Twitch, but that is how insane Israel is acting right now. Autocorrect. Force the word hope in there. Oh, okay. Remember this one time someone got blocked for supporting the evil ideology of pacifism. Yeah. What was it? I think somebody, not somebody. It was Vaush himself. I remember back in the day, he got banned for saying "glass Israel" back in like 2019 or something. We disavow for the purposes of not getting banned off of Twitch.tv, but to give you an idea of like uh, uh, the escalation that we're at this point. There's a few updates at the top. I'm trying to get to yeah, okay. Civilians killed. In other words, Israeli state behaves as the Israeli state usually does. Strike on residential buildings. Number of people, including women and children, were martyred in a residential complex in Tehran. Official IRNA news agency reported. For anybody not familiar with this kind of framing, martyred is a religious framing, but this is not like a jihadist, like hardline Islamist framing. Every majority Muslim country will say martyred, and with respect to like people being injured or killed, because that's basically the word. That's how they translate like the word casualties. You know how we would frame it secularly as there were this many casualties including both injuries and deaths. When you see the term martyred, that's what that means. You know. And obviously there are religious overtones and undertones to this, but this is the term that every major like Islamic country will use, from Iran to Palestine to Algeria, Tunisia, all of those. They all say it like this. How do y'all think Iran is going to react? I have my own thoughts on the matter, and I will get to that in just a second. First thing I want to do is try to get to the point where I saw last night. Now, I'm in the East Coast time zone, which means GMT, what is it, -5? So, here, hold on. GMT minus 5. Time zones. Thank you, Phoenix Contact. Very cool. New York. Okay, yeah, that's my time zone. So I'm looking for something at about 4 or 5 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. That's when I saw this developing. Iran's capital, Tehran. No way it can join the war. It probably has to respond just as hard, if not harder. Yeah, Iran is like actually going through it right now. Iranian American advocacy group denounces Israeli strikes. It seems pretty par for the course. All right. Israeli military chief says army mobilizing tens of thousands of soldiers. Oh man, Israel might actually be like, I don't know. Israel might be committing to the bit harder than I've seen. Yeah, this is an example of one of the strikes that Israel did. This is you can probably tell this is an apartment building. Multi-layered attacks targeting both the missile program and its nuclear program, and they did so by bombing apartment buildings. Bravo. How long has Israel been killing people anyways? When was the State of Israel created? 1948? That's when it was created by the UN and Britain. Basically, this is essentially how Israel has behaved for as long as it's existed. The state of Israel has its roots in the modern state of Israel has its roots both in white supremacy of the European brand, American settler colonialism, and the Nazi-aligned militias that later became the Likud party, the one that comes to mind to me being the Irgun. Particularly that one survived into the early days of Israel, became, I think it was like the Freedom Party or something, which then became the Likud party, which is the current party in government. And their tactic was actually very reminiscent, and in fact became integrated into the IDF's current operating procedure, which is they bomb civilian areas, first sending like leaflets or flyers saying, hey, we're about to bomb this civilian target, so every civilian should leave, that way we can bomb this building and you won't die. It was effectively a way for them to commit war crimes, but nicely enough so that the UN wouldn't scrutinize them as hard. This has been their standard method of operating for the entire existence of the State of Israel. That it's not to say they have limited themselves to that, but basically what I'm saying is that the entire project of the Israeli state has been one of killing and forcibly removing civilians from their places of residence. Remember the part 3 where Jojo skipped that area to avoid politics? Yeah, I do remember that. I remember that they, going all over the place, and they did not stop in Palestine. Although I actually feel like, uh, um, I don't know, this is kind of tangential. I feel like if a Japanese show were to touch on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict at the time that, JoJo Part 3 was being written and recorded, as an anime and whatnot, I feel like the showrunners and, the Japanese outlook on politics, to the extent that their government says stuff on the international stage, would land more on the side of Palestine, because Japan post World War II has been very hardline pacifist for various reasons. Some of them organic, some of them imposed from the top down, something like that. Reminds me of the IRA's tactics. They'd call somewhere they were going to bomb and tell them, look, we're going to bomb you. Everyone should leave. Yeah, that kind of shit, basically. Jojo's famous for not liking police, even though he called himself a bully. That's based. Love that for Jojo. Video captures destruction following Israeli attacks on residential area of Tehran. I am going to bring up this screen while I look at this video. Turn off that audio, please. Okay, I'm going to describe what we're seeing. I'm seeing a residential neighborhood in what is it, Tehran? Yeah, Tehran's northern residential neighborhood of Agdasi. I don't speak whatever language they speak in Iran. I don't speak Iranian, so it's best I can do. All right, looking at residential buildings. There's some smoke coming from. Oh wait. Oh whoa. Hold on. Maybe I should bring this back. This is post the bombing already happening. I didn't realize this is a chunk of building that's just gone. They bombed that building, and that's like gone now. All right, I'm gonna go back here again on the off chance that anything like TOS happens. Smoldering wreckage of apartment building. Oh, there's some more. You can see here. There's some smoke in the distance there. Another apartment building got hit. Looking around, there's some construction happening. Makes sense, it's a city. And yeah, okay. You know, that's an autocorrect error. The second part does open with beating up the police. Oh yeah. It's I remember that. The opening of part 2, battle tendency, where fucking Joseph Joestar beats the shit out of some cops harassing a black kid. That was based. All right, say let me get back to this. Khamenei briefed on strikes. Okay, here. This is what makes me think that Iran actually might not respond very much. 1v3, you asked about this earlier. Truthfully, I actually don't think Iran is going to respond proportionately, or in the sense that, like, I don't think Iran is going to acknowledge that they're kind of in a state of war now. Which, I mean, look, you're between a rock and a hard place if you're in the Iranian government, right? Because if war starts, then the United States is going to gleefully leap to the defense of Israel. But either way, you're going to keep getting bombed. Israel must prepare for a bitter and painful fate following the attack. So they're doing the whole, like, finger wagging, ooh, you better watch out, you know? Publish a statement from the state news agency. Great nation of Iran, the Zionist regime at dawn today opened its dirty and bloody hand to a crime in our beloved country and revealed its evil nature more than ever by striking residential centers. The regime must expect severe punishment. The powerful hand of the Islamic Republic's armed forces will not abandon him, God willing. Okay, great. Several commanders and scientists were martyred in the enemy attacks. Their successors and colleagues will immediately resume their duties, God willing. Oh yeah, God willing is also something that people in majority Muslim countries say a lot. Inshallah is the But I think inshallah is just is classical Arabic, which the Quran is written in. Everybody in the Muslim world knows what inshallah means. It means God willing, and they're like, it's like a statement of like, let us hope this happens, or this is what we would like to happen. With this crime, Zionist regime prepares itself for a bitter and painful fate. They will definitely receive it. Yeah, kind of the finger wagging thing. I mean, again, very religious country. State and church are deeply connected in Iran. That's how that works over there. And even though, like, obviously they're correct in saying that Israel is a Zionist state, there's some undertones of like real anti-Semitism here. Or ain't no option. The cat in the corner can make weird moves, as we say. Yeah. It's like people in a desperate situation can do desperate things. UN nuclear watchdog confirms Natanz site targeted in Iran. IAEA says the UN body is closely monitoring the situation. Agency can confirm Natanz site among targets. The agency is in contact with Iranian authorities regarding radiation levels. We are also in contact with our inspectors in the country. So it's possible that Iran has been developing nuclear weapons, but ultimately that's actually neither here nor there, because it was the United States that tore up that deal. And either way, it did provide some room for Iran to do fuel enrichment for fuel. Well, fuel enrichment for fuel. Great, thank you. Nuclear enrichment for fuel purposes, like having nuclear reactors and stuff. So it's possible that many of these nuclear sites are, they could be weapons development sites, or they could be power plants, in which case there is also a risk of, like radiation and stuff like that. So, U.S. Senator says Iran-Israel war disastrous for the region. Chris Murphy's probably going to say some like watered down half measures shit. Israeli strikes clearly intended to scuttle the Trump administration's diplomacy with Iran. A cowardly fucking framing. This is a disaster of Trump and Netanyahu's own making. And now the region risks spiraling towards a new deadly conflict. War between Israel and Iran may be good for Netanyahu's domestic politics. This is what I said earlier. But it will likely be disastrous for both the security of Israel, the United States, and the rest of the region. He added that the U.S. has no obligation to follow Israel into a war with Iran. Citation needed. The military-industrial complex would beg to differ with that one. So, half correct, half cowardly. What can you expect? Third wave of Israeli attacks. Alright, here we go. Where has Israel attacked Iran? The capital of Tehran, the city of Natanz, south of Tehran, where they have the uranium enrichment facility. The city of Tabriz, city of Isfahan, city of Arak, city of Kermanshah. So areas around Tehran and other major cities. One of which did contain a nuclear power or enrichment site, but this is not common to all of these. It's just the bombing civilians shit. Country at point of no return. I mean, yeah, obviously, Israel is escalating here. China warns citizens in Israel to prepare for potential attacks. Here's some more photos. Cars and apartments having been destroyed. Reminds me, people think religion is just a small corner. I wish that was the case. A lot of this is not even being motivated by religion. The government... Dog, I'm stressed the fuck out. You join the club, mate. The government of Israel is not a religiously motivated Jewish government. In fact, some of the most religious Jews have been vehemently opposed to Israel's actions because it threatens peace and stability between believers of God, basically. And that, like, we should, like, coexist with the Palestinians and the Muslims in the regions, that sort of thing. Just got a D+ when I need a C-. Oof. That hurts. No, the Israeli government, the state of Israel is ethno-nationalist. They are Jewish. They are a Jewish nation, like Jewish ethno-state, with an emphasis on the Jewish ethnicity, not the Jewish religion. Because when people have cited the Jewish religion and Jewish religious ideas to refute the ongoing colonization of Gaza and the West Bank, they have been punished by the state, both in Israel and the United States. This is a project from the US's perspective of military-industrial complex capital, through which they can keep a war going on, so they can funnel infinite money into defense contractors. And from Israel's perspective, this is a goal of ethnic cleansing and ethnic supremacy and fascistic expansionism that has little to nothing to do with religion, except insofar as it can justify those prior projects, genocide included. Reminds me of that bit in Shameless where Frank is ranting about the Palestinians to that Jewish guy, and he's like, I support a two-state solution. I support a one-state solution where whatever that fucking area is called, it's not called Israel, and everybody has equal rights there. Honestly, that's where I'm at. Because right now we have a 1.5 state solution where Israel gets to, like, pinprick a fucking voodoo doll of Palestine, and Palestine is just a voodoo doll and doesn't have any real agency, and you know, like, shit just sucks, but the military-industrial complex walks away pretty happy. Oh yeah, by the way, this picture, these are all the cities that were struck. It's like every major city in like Western Iran, for the most part. There might be some big cities over here, but I'm not sure. I'm not super familiar with Iranian geography. Oh, here's a diagram of Iran's potential, like, armaments and stuff. What am I looking at here? We got the pink. We got these like turquoise things. Okay, so they have missiles. Great. Big country have missile, and they could hit Israel, potentially, maybe. All right. Iran says the U.S. will also be responsible for Israel's adventure. I mean, it is adventurism, that's for sure. Iran's foreign ministry says Tehran has a legal and legitimate right to respond to Israeli attacks under the UN Charter. Oh, this is actually really funny. Like, as fucked up as this whole situation is that now, because these attacks are basically unprompted on the part of Israel to like, to attack Iran. Yeah, crazy. Big country has missiles in 2025. Now Iran is on the rhetorical foot of saying we have a right legally to defend ourselves in this instance. Except in the case of Iran, they were actually struck in civilian areas by a hostile military force, and in Israel's case, it was one terrorist attack that they used as a springboard to kill everybody in sight, basically. You know? And I bet you dollars to donuts, because I have literally seen this happen well before October 7th, by the way, full 5 years before, that you can ask the same question with two different countries and get two different answers. Does Israel have a right to defend itself? And every pro-Israel Zionist Andy will say yes. And then you can ask, does Iran have a right to defend itself? Excuse me. Nations don't have genders because that shit is made up. Does Iran have a right to defend itself? And the same people will say unequivocally, no. Which underwrites two significant points. Number one, these people are evil and don't believe anything. Number two, nation states don't have rights. They're nation states. They do what they do by force. Or by implicit, like, acceptance of who gets to use force. Law has nothing to do with it. Countries violate international law all the time. Rights are for people. Force is what nation states engage in. Far-reaching effects and consequences. Our beloved homeland Iran will responsibility to regime and its supporters. But again, because of the rhetoric, because of the very theatrical rhetoric that Iran is choosing to engage in here, putting out a lot of statements, then it makes me feel like there's not going to be a real response on the part of Iran here. You know, does that make sense? Remember, this happened last time. Israel launched a volley of missiles into Iran, and then Iran, in response, launched a volley of drones over to Israel, and they did blow some things up, but it was a pretty small response, all things considered. They just put out a lot of statements about, the Zionist regime is so evil and stuff, right? And nothing really came of it. I kind of worry in one way or the other, right? If Iran responds in a meaningful way, militarily, it's World War III, right? And that probably doesn't mean nuclear war, but it does mean a very long grind, characteristic of how the United States behaved in basically the operations in Afghanistan and Iraq, where it would be a forever war. But if Iran doesn't respond, it effectively gives carte blanche for Israel to do this again, and to basically do unlimited bombing campaigns. Oh wow, that really was like... Oh, I guess they targeted nuclear power plants and research centers, which in civilian areas. Anyways, it effectively not responding, where responding would invoke a forever war, which might be World War III. Not responding means that Israel basically gets to do unlimited bombing of its Middle Eastern neighbors, and development in the region gets set back for fucking forever, and the status quo of Israel committing genocide and getting away with it relatively scot-free persists because they're the military-industrial complex's attack dog that conveniently allows them to siphon infinite money from Western economies. Does that make sense? Am I making sense when I say that? That's what I mean when I say between a rock and a hard place. I guess that applies to all of us, but like particularly the government of Iran is, I'm positive that they either have considered this or are considering this. Like, if we respond, it's an actual war. If we don't respond, they're going to bomb us again because we didn't really respond. There's not like a good answer here because Israel, like I said, is a rogue state. They don't give a shit what any of the rules say. Yeah. And here, look, to validate the points that we've been making. Israel is right, top U.S. lawmaker. This is House Speaker Mike Johnson, one of the top-ranking Republicans. American lawmakers and officials are vocally backing up Israel here, saying, like, yeah, Israel gets to just do this and get away with it. They're like, that's fine if they do this, and we'll, like, I don't know, kill you if you disagree or something in Minecraft. Israel attack part of a broad regional plan made with approval of the U.S. Oh yeah, this definitely got by the U.S. Like, the U.S. knew about this, but yeah. I can honestly see the coin flip either way. Yeah, I can too. Like we were saying, desperate... It's like... Desperate actors in a political sense, like geopolitical actors, can do desperate things. Let's see some of the newer updates. Because that was, again, that was like late last night when I was first seeing some of this stuff. Okay. Analysis, Iran's new military commanders need time to respond. I don't know. I think the time might have actually run up on this. Here's another perspective. Maybe starting a full-on major war is a plus from their perspective, is if assuming the U.S. intervenes, tries to send military backup, this is just going to turn the current civil discontent and unrest up by about 1 billion times. You know what? Maybe that's true. There could be a reason for them to be like, you know what? Fuck it. I guess we got to commit to the bit here because you know, it unifies the country. Iran being having been subject to a lot of protests in the recent few years, the government might like to kind of take care of that public sentiment. And I guess if they can do it in a way that doesn't involve making people more angry at them, that probably makes sense. And if it makes Americans mad at the American government for getting involved in a war, that they might take that opportunity. Yeah. That makes sense. Aftermath of Israeli strikes. Yeah, here's an apartment that was leveled. At least it looks like this was an apartment. Can't fucking tell because there's not much of it left. stabilize their own country while badly inflaming the current unrest in the US. Yeah, and Iran's geography actually lends it to a similar geopolitical position as Afghanistan. Afghanistan is known by historians as the graveyard of empires. Empires that invade Afghanistan do not live for very long afterwards. This was true of Russia in the I believe 19th century. This was true of the Soviets in the 20th century, excuse me. This is true of the United States in the 21st century, because the mountainous terrain and the tribal life that has gone on there for so long lends the country and the landscape very well to a domestic defense. It's incredibly hard to capture. And so when an empire tries to make show of military might or otherwise geopolitical might, which is, there's a lot of overlap, by contesting a country like that in the region, it's doomed to fail because, like, you kind of just can't really conquer it. There's not, like, it's a combination of there not being much there to conquer, as well as, like, the terrain being incredibly hostile to marching because there's so many mountains, and there's like goat farmers that have lived there for millennia that now have guns and will shoot at you from the hills. Iran has killed a fair share of empires too. Yeah, because the similar geography, especially, you try to invade from the west, you're basically fucked, or from the east as well. The east is also very mountainous. Actually, I mixed those up. I meant to say east first and then west, but both the east and the west in Iran are very mountainous areas. Internet blackout in Gaza. Let's see. Macron criticizes Iran. Dude, Macron is a fucking goof, dude. I have no fucking idea what this guy is doing on the international stage. I guess it's characteristic of the centrist lib. He's trying to play both sides of it. I don't know what he's doing, and I don't know if he knows what he's doing either. UN conference on Palestinian statehood postponed. Great. Fucking hell. Israel seals off the occupied West Bank. Oh boy! We're about to... Oh man. Oh fuck. If this ends up being like a potential distraction for Israel to close in on the West Bank as well, or on Gaza even harder, that's gonna be really bad. Israeli military attacked nuclear facility in Isfahan. Yeah, we saw that they struck Isfahan already. But again, I think most of the sites that they were striking is like nuclear power plants. Macron's like a caricature of an annoying centrist at this point. Yeah, he is kind of a self-caricature, right? He thinks he's the main character. He thinks he's him, but everybody hates him. Nobody fucking, likes that guy. And like, nobody has any idea what he's doing because he's constantly trying to play both sides of a contradictory political spectrum. And that means I don't think he really knows what he's doing either. And characteristic of those types, he gets mad at the left when they, defend a consistent set of principles and just kind of moves towards the right. I don't know. Reza Pahlavi? Fuck this. Oh, okay, that's why. I see. Because, oh no, wait, that's this guy. I'm blind. The older guy is Reza Pahlavi. Pahlavi, not Pavlovi. I fucking read a V in there where it wasn't. Might be. Going after U.S. bases in Iraq would be really risky. Yeah, it would. Israel says it detected missile launches from Iran. This could be reminiscent of the last time such a volley, like exchange volley, happened, where Iran does a limited response. Still the sound of explosions ringing around in Tehran. I can hear people shouting Allahu Akbar across the street. Something is happening. Also, again, this is another thing that people just say a lot in Muslim countries. It's like a general expression of "Oh my God" or like "God help me" or "Thank God" or something like that. You know how we say a lot of stuff that's like "Oh, thank God" or "Oh my God" or something like that. those are a bunch of different expressions in the West, but like in Muslim countries, it's mostly just one expression, and it's Allahu Akbar. Like people will say this when they welcome you into their house. You know, it tends to be more religious conservative types. But you know, it's like God is good. Yeah, that's basically like when we say holy shit, if you translate that to Arabic or you know, whatever, you would just say Allahu Akbar. Because it's a general exclamation. Satellite images reveal the extent of damage to Iran's Natanz nuclear site. Institute has obtained high-resolution satellite data. Wow, they sure did blow it up. Pilot fuel enrichment. Yeah, okay, so it's fuel enrichment. Let me see this. Image. Protective cage penetrated. Emergency response vehicles there. Okay. Oh, what does this tweet read? Imagery shows damage and destruction to several buildings around the complex and the on-site electrical substation that provides power to the facility. There's no visible damage to the below-ground enrichment facility, nor to the new complex being constructed under this mountain, I suppose, just south of Natanz. Complete destruction is the complete destruction is significant, given that the facility holds over 1,700 advanced centrifuges, includes a bunch of... Okay, so they have a lot of equipment. R&D for new types of advanced centrifuges. You know, I was kind of passively wondering whether this was a fuel enrichment plant just for the purposes of, like, powering people's homes, like a regular old nuclear power plant would, or whether it was for something military, but I guess that information wouldn't be known to the public, but it's also not terribly relevant, because, you know, even though this is a target of military interest, it's not like Israel contained their strikes to this target, or had a reason to just strike Iran in the first place, you know? I think, you know, Israel strikes so many civilian targets that we tend to focus on that, rightly so, because, like, holy shit, you're just bombing random people. But again, we have to consider that, like, you're not allowed to just fucking bomb another country. That you like, the international war states that if war is declared, you have to actually declare it with cause and shit like that, where, you know, you don't get to just strike a fucking random country's nuclear development site, unless, I guess, you're Israel or the United States, in which case you can kind of do whatever you want. I don't know. UK foreign minister urges calm. That's great. Yeah, the UK is pretty cooked as well. Okay. Not too late for Tehran to halt the bombing campaign by reaching a deal on its nuclear program. What deal, motherfucker? You tore up the deal. Get this fucker out of here. Israel must expect severe punishment following the crime of attacking Iran and killing several top-level military commanders and 6 nuclear scientists. Military operator. Okay, so yeah, this basically recaps all the points that I made throughout the, you know, us looking at the live blog here. Netanyahu is doing this because he wants to stay in power, and fascism needs to be in a constant state of war or crisis, interchangeable for the most part. And somehow the Israeli people are actually even more Hitlerite than Netanyahu is, on average. And Iran knows that it's stuck between a rock and a hard place, and it seems that they're choosing the option where they kind of finger wag, make a bunch of political statements, and then, like, maybe launch a small volley of missiles into Israel that doesn't pose much of a threat insofar as starting a broader conflict in the region. It is actually, you know, since this started last night, and I'm seeing all these details now, and we still haven't gotten word of, like, a proper war starting, it seems like that's the road they're going to go down. Because to give you the alternate perspective, if the decision from Iran was truly to mobilize and acknowledge that there's, like, a state of war or whatever, then we would have gotten wind of that basically immediately after these strikes came, or potentially even before the strikes came. We would have known that both countries were on edge, and then it would, like, war would have just erupted like that. The fact that this is so drawn out, and by so drawn out, I mean even, like, double-digit hours. Like, that's still pretty long time to draw this out. Israeli people must be freaking out. No, dude, they're like frothing at the mouth. They want this. You know, like what is it? Fucking Greater Israel? Let me see if I can look that up. Netanyahu Greater Israel. Under fire. Okay, this is from 2023, this article, where it doesn't even have a picture. God dang it. Here, hold on. What opinion poll am I looking for? Here. Israel opinion poll Palestine 2025. No, Haaretz, what was going on? Okay. See, this is what I mean when I say Israel's are fucking insane and they want this. Look at this. Poll. This is from May 30th. This is 2 weeks ago. 82% of Israelis want to expel Palestinians from Gaza. 47% want to kill every man, woman, and child. This is the Israeli population, like representative sample. This is what the people of Israel generally believe. And it's because of two things. Number one, propaganda. Number two, pre-selection for the most insane people imaginable. Supporting expulsion of Gaza residents. Supporting expulsion of Israeli Arabs. Yeah, it's that bad. You don't hear about this a lot, but it is that bad. But funny thing, it wasn't this bad just a few years ago. Just a few short years ago, like 2021, 2022, it wasn't this bad. It was bad, but not this bad. Believing that all residents of a conquered enemy city should be killed. What is it? Secular, traditional, Orthodox, Haredi. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Most Israelis want to expel Palestinian citizens. And this is citizens of Israel, not Palestinians, not like Palestinians living in the West Bank and Gaza. These are Palestinians with Israeli citizenship. These are the second-class citizens of their own country, and they're saying, yeah, the majority consensus is they want to expel them. These are Israelis. I don't know how biased this paper is, but I don't have any reason to suspect this poll is off because, yeah, here we go. March 2025 poll of Israeli public opinion, commissioned by Pennsylvania State University and published by Haaretz. So that's what I mean when I say that like the Israeli public is on board with this, and that Netanyahu, for being in any way like capable of acknowledging the geopolitical realities that constrain him from basically doing this all at once, is less insane than the Israeli public. As crazy as that, like, that's why I acknowledge that it sounds fucking crazy, because it didn't used to be the case. At least as far as I know. Crushing retaliation against the Israeli attacks. Decisive response to the brutal attack began with the firing of hundreds of ballistic missiles at the occupied territories, it said. I don't know what that means, per se. Here, hold on. Let me look this up now. Iranian missiles, Israel. Tel Aviv, explosions in Tel Aviv. I don't trust CNN here. I'm going to try to find some kind of information that indicating like what Iran did, what kind of missiles they launched, etc. Israel identifies incoming missiles launched from Iran. Defense systems are operating to intercept the missiles. Okay. It has instructed the public to seek shelter. See increasing security. Places of worship, Israeli diplomatic sites. Iranians demand retaliation. I fucking wonder why. Their cities just got bombed. Strikes make Iran more likely to negotiate. Seriously? Okay, Trump, whatever you say, buddy. Well, I guess, I don't know. I guess, like, the fucking Iran retaliation. Iran launches missiles and drones at Israel as Israel attacks Iranian nuclear sites and top commanders, IDF says. God, look at this framing. Look at the framing from the American news outlets. I'm guessing this will be on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Hope the world ain't playing Call of Duty Global yet. Yeah, let's hope not. Yeah, this probably will be a YouTube segment. I don't know. Hopefully, I won't have to do much editing since I'm just sitting here actually looking at the news segments or the news articles and stuff. CBS, Iran launches missiles and drones at Israel as Israel attacks nuclear sites. See, they have to fucking frame it as though these things are happening at the same time. Oh, you know, both sides. But no, we know that, like, Israel launched missiles at Iran, striking major cities, which prompted then a response. You know, Han shot first, etc., etc. Launched over 200 airstrikes on Iran. Continuing. Oh, wait, no, they actually do mean it. Never mind. Israel is still launching these fucking things. That's my beef. For fucking once, this title is actually correct. Israel is still launching missiles at Iran, which increases the risk that this could meaningfully escalate. If it was just a one-time deal, then I guess it would still be reasonable to expect that Iran settles for this one volley, but because Israel has seemed intent on, like, continuing, that might not be the case anymore. Dozens of Iranian ballistic missiles were en route to Israel, shortly after this. The country's population had to be instructed. Okay, yeah, can I get some info on, like, what Iran's doing? Early Friday. Yeah, we saw that already. The threat wasn't over, but Israel had managed to intercept many of Iran's UAVs. Yeah, Israel does have the Iron Dome. Which we pay for, by the way. Throughout the day, we once again demonstrated the ability to remove threats in a coordinated, precise, daring manner. Okay, great. Thank you. Puff piece on Israel. Can I get some info on Iran, though? Can you, like, shut the fuck up about Israel, CBS? Okay, can I get some info about Iran, though? I fucking hate American news, dude. How many times can you whack a dog around the head before it turns around and bites your face off? That's what I'm kind of wondering here. IDF said the operation would continue for days. First wave consisting of 200 Israeli fighter jets. Oh, it wasn't missiles. It was fighter jets that bombed. Okay, lefty misinfo. Over 330 different munitions to hit more than 100 targets in major cities, many of which in residential areas. Great, thank you. Breadth and scale of these strikes. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, so they're committing to the bit. The breadth and scale of these strikes against senior Iranian military officials, or senior Iranian officials, and not even just military officials, and other military facilities, in addition to nuclear sites, suggests this operation is intended not to just dissuade Iran from pursuing nuclear weapons, but also cripple any potential military response and even to destabilize the regime. This reminds me of the reason that Japan bombed Pearl Harbor in 1941. Am I saying that this is the same? No, obviously not. Israel is Israel, Japan is Japan, America is America, and Iran is Iran. These are different circumstances, but there are similarities in that the stated intent, or the intent of the attack was the same, to cripple any potential military response. And of course, we remember the Pearl Harbor attacks as the thing that got the U.S. involved in the war that was already happening. Again, the difference is that there was already a broader war occurring, and here there probably isn't. I don't know. The fucking lines of what we consider war and what we don't is really blurry nowadays. But regardless, this makes me think that Iran might also commit to the bit because Israel's like, yeah, we want to actually like cripple your whole country. Lefty spreading degenerate Hamas lies again. SMH my head. True. Uh, uh, average average DGG talking point or something. I don't know. I was reaching there. Something liberals something. Israel's once again demonstrated considerable conventional military superiority. Gluck, 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 gluck. Okay, cool. Iran's response might be delayed or split into multiple phases, but their main weapon will be ballistic missiles, which have the best chance of inflicting damage on Israel, whereas drone and cruise missile attacks will face more extensive Israeli defenses. Israel's operations. Typo. Career over. Have therefore targeted air defenses and ballistic missile sites to forestall this. Ah, yes, the classic preemptive strike. If Iran believes the U.S. or others were involved, then their retaliation could include targeting the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet. Iran will not do this. Whatever Iran does, it is not going to be this because it wasn't American fighter jets that flew over Iran and bombed their cities. It was Israeli fighter jets. What America is doing here is they're projecting a degree of insanity onto Iran that only exists in the United States and Israel. They're projecting a degree of irrationality that they cannot comprehend other countries not suffering from because the United States and Israel have like a unique degree of political irrationality on the world stage. Precisely because of the unchecked power that they've like had for a decent amount of time. It's like this is just you know, my sources that I made it the fuck up, right? Says nuclear clash not close. Well, yeah, the seems that the top NATO officials and analysts agree, like, yeah, this probably isn't going to lead to nuclear war. Risk of an escalating regional conflict. You don't fucking say. Six months later, wait a sec. It's April of last year. Iran launched missiles and drones on Israel. Retaliated strikes on Iranian sites. I don't believe CBS. I don't remember this very well, but I actually don't believe this. I think they're actually lying. I think Israel struck first in this case as well. Either way, the point being established is that this is not the first time that a back and forth like this has happened. Damn. The response could extend beyond retaliatory strikes on Israel itself. Citation needed. Well, I guess beyond Israel itself is a less outlandish claim to make. Saying that it would be direct strikes on like U.S. military assets is much more out there. Okay, this is another thing that I hate. These talks were never serious to begin with. Like there was no chance of these talks ever going anywhere because we already had these talks when Obama was president and it resulted in the Iran nuclear deal, which Trump unilaterally rescinded and said fuck you Iran, and now they're like crawling back. This ain't happening. 5 minutes ago, another volley of Iranian missiles launched. Wait, was this Russian retaliation? Something. Okay, more finger wagging, I guess. I don't know, dude. Look, I don't even know what, like, general point I make from this, other than, like, this is representative of the decay of the international order, like the international liberal world order or whatever, because the self-proclaimed steward of that order, the United States, has gone completely Joker mode in every, like, at every step that Israel has also gone completely Joker mode, resulting in the United States and especially Israel now acting as a pair of rogue states that answer to nobody and have basically cut themselves off from the international community, doing shit like this that risks World War III. And it is a real risk. However, however small the risk is, which I certainly hope this doesn't escalate, and I don't think it will. The risk is there, and this kind of brinksmanship is just like complete. I guess I said as much earlier. This kind of brinksmanship is completely irrational and motivated by like a number of things, all equally irrational, from like mass psychological fascism to top-down governmental fascism to pure political, like callous political self-interest on the part of Netanyahu to stay in power, and like the military-industrial complex in the United States wanting to maintain its relationship with Israel basically at any cost, because that's like where all their money comes from and goes. It like that's the justification that the Pentagon can use to increase their budget over and over again. They funnel money into this black hole, and it's like, well, what do we do now that the defense contractors have all this money? What do we do with it? We spend it on Israel. We antagonize countries in the region so that they hate Israel. That way we have more money. We have more justification to ask for more money to spend on Israel. It's an infinite loop. I don't know what else I'd say other than that. Oh yeah, also Israelis and like Israel is like super duper Hitlerite. Uh, literally just fucking final solution shit right here. And this also plays into why they're doing it, as I mentioned earlier, is that they hate this hatred isn't just limited to Palestinians. It extends to all Arabs and to a significant degree as well, all Muslims. They really fucking hate Iran and Iranians as well. It wouldn't surprise me if the Israeli public were on board with this. In fact, that's part of the reason that Netanyahu is doing it, is because he can keep that public support up. Something permanent state of crisis, something fascism. You know the deal. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Future me, if that's a segment, cut it already. Jesus fucking Christ. This is gonna be outdated. Even with like minimal editing, this video is gonna be outdated by the time I upload it. So take this for what you will. Yeah, there are many negative things I want to say about Israel, but I've basically exhausted everything that I can say that won't get me like banned from Twitch and YouTube. So I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, and support the channel if you would be so kind.